Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to address this topic. I'm pretty sure I've done it before in a couple other videos, but they may not be fully uploaded. I know at least one is, so I'm going to have to do this a few times, because I ran with the 531 stuff, and I explained when I was putting it out and trying it out that some of my clients had approached me and really wanted to do 531, and so I was familiar with the system and had bought all the books and just kind of ran with it for those clients who wanted to do it. And I had been doing that for a while, and I decided to try some of it myself for my own programming quite some time back, just to see how I ran with it and worked with the system. But I observed a bunch of my clients while doing it, and people saw some of my clients doing that. And it was never the majority by any means. A lot of my clients stayed on Conjugate. So a lot of the vloggers were doing it though. And the thing is I observed it because people were like, well, why don't you use it anymore? Why aren't you using it for any clients other than ones who beg you to? And I still will. If a client insists that that's what they want and they're going to pay me for it, I'll run them on it. But they have to be aware of the limitations. And it's because I've said, if you're going to work with a pre-made system outside of Conjugate, it is a good system. The problem I have is that it cannot compete with Conjugate. It's just not as good. And that doesn't mean it's a bad system. It's still one of the better programs out there and systems, because it's not a program, it really is a system. It's a whole system. The problem that I have with it is that I feel like it's really ideal for late novices, okay, early intermediates. The problem that I have found is that when people reach a certain strength threshold, the system itself becomes brutally hard to recover from. And because we're struggling to recover from it, even our workloads suffer. And a lot of it simply has to do with those plus sets at the start. Okay, they are way, way more taxing from a fatigue perspective than a max is. They're more taxing than speed work is. Okay, I could have people come in and do speed squats and speed pulls against bands, 10, 20 total sets, and they are not as fatigued as they are after one of those plus sets on a squat or a deadlift. And you can tell when they get under the barbell for their supplemental work. And that's the reason with that system, when you have any strength base, you literally have to do 50% of your maxes for the 10s. You just can't handle more, right? You can't handle more than that because the initial work is so taxing. And it's not that bad for people who are weak. Like if you squat 300 pounds and you deadlift, 370, it's not that bad. When you squat 400, 450, you deadlift 500, okay, it starts to really become an issue. And it's just, again, those plus sets beat you up, they break you down, and then you're doing a lot of barbell work on top of it. And then you get people who go, well, couldn't you just replace that with easier work? Well, you could, but the problem we still run into is the accumulation of overuse from the really hard squat, bench, deadlift, overhead press sets every week because we're not rotating lifts. We're adjusting percentages and rep ranges a little, and that can help some, but the overuse starts to accumulate very, very quickly, and particularly with these big movements. And what you start finding is that people have to deload more often. The quality of the rest of our work is lower throughout the training session. And what I find with Conjugate is that if we do it right and we program it correctly, the fatigue is much lower through the workouts when you get to all the accessory work. Okay, and we still get brutally strong. We get stronger, we get faster, and we recover from it easier than we do that system. So, and this is something I observed. Like I ran for 6 months straight. I actually took 2 groups of clients and I observed them. And what I found inside of that period of time, a number of months, and it was like 5 to 6 months, I broke up different clients. I had about 10 in each group, just observing. So I wanted to use, similar demographics in terms of age, strength level, roughly of what I used for the clients to compare and look for trends. And the trends that I found were that the people on Conjugate gained slightly more strength. Okay, not just did they gain slightly more strength, they had to deload less often, they were less beat up and they generally felt better. Okay, now does that mean that 531 is a trash system? No, it's a reasonably successful system. And I would say to someone, if you're not going to learn something like Conjugate, or you're not going to learn how to program on your own, if you want something that you can just grab a couple books, read, and run with it off the templates, it's still pretty good. Like, I would still recommend, if people can't do this stuff on their own, or you can't hire a coach, or you can't figure out Conjugate, even though I've got lots of material on it, it's still not a bad way to go. I would still say the books are worth buying. Understanding the system is worth it. But I find personally, I was stronger on Conjugate. And look what happened when I went back to Conjugate. I got stronger. I felt less fatigued. Okay? It works. It absolutely works. And it works very well. And it works well for most people. And again, I did get guys who got really, really good results off the 531. I had guys on 531. I've got a guy who was still running it until recently. He wanted to run it out. I'm talking something like a high 300 squat up to a 450. Guy pulling something like 420, goes up to 500. As far as the training maxes that we're working off of, the guy was benching like 225, 230 for 5. He hit 275 for 5 the other day. Okay. So we put, quite a bit, almost 50 pounds, not quite 50 pounds on his 5-rep bench. Okay. And he's not a noob. So some of these guys got some pretty decent results. I didn't really build any real elite lifters on it. And I found a lot of guys got just beat up. It beats people up more. Conjugate doesn't beat you up when it's done correctly. You feel better. You feel athletic. Particularly if we combine and do the GPP with it. Okay, and that's one of the things that I've noticed even before I mess with the 531. Some of my Conjugate guys, 6 months, 9 months into it, who were strong lifters, pretty strong guys. I'm going to say when you're squatting more than 2.5 times your body weight and you're deadlifting more than 3 times your body weight, we're pretty strong. You're approaching a double body weight bench. Guys like that. Like when one of them had told me, I used to feel so beat up doing more block periodization, and I felt unathletic. And on this system, with all the speed work and doing the jump work, and doing the plyometric box jumps, he's like, I feel athletic. I feel like I'm in better shape, and I don't wake up hurting, even though we've put 40 pounds on my squat. All right, and this is a guy who's over a 500 squatter, and he's like, we put 40 pounds on my squat, but I feel better and I hurt less. Okay, and that's the difference. And I find that Conjugate is just a better flow state system. And it's very, very effective when you understand how to program it. And I noticed the same trend in myself rotating between the two. So it just is what it is. I'm not going to really push 531. I'm still going to endorse it as a decent system. It's pretty good. I think the books are worth buying. I think Wendler's got his own interesting spin on things. It's worth hearing. Okay. I think Conjugate really is ideal. I like it. I love it. I like working with it. All right, guys. Well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.